300,000 children crossed the border during the Biden administration, and they were lost. We don't know where they are. You think it's human trafficking?
Oh, absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. Here's the thing. I've spent, especially since the time of the movie came out, I've spent enormous amounts of time in South America. And every single day for the last few years, I've spent a huge amount of time in Latin America. And especially over the 4 years of the Biden administration, every single day, there were children that were taken in every major city throughout Latin America. Children were being taken from healthy families. Now, I didn't say wealthy families. They're quite poor, but they have a mom and a dad and a loving home, right? They don't have the resources to be able to follow up and figure out where their kids went.
When you say taken, not kidnapped.
No, they
were given.
They were. Some of them, many were taken, right?
Just taken out of the home.
It happens all the time down there, but we don't hear about it because it's not an affluent family with a nice home and whatnot. And it happens a lot. And what happens, just like what we showed in the Sound of Freedom movie, where this little boy is, you don't want something bad to happen to your sister, do you? What happens is these children were drugged, they were raped, they were then told, listen, I know where your mother lives, I know where your sister goes to school. You don't want something bad to happen to them, do you? And literally within a week of them taken, these kids are completely compliant. Happens all the time. And then they're taken up to the border. They're given a phone number and an address, and they're told, listen, this is your new sponsor. If you get sent somewhere else, you have to run away. You have to go to this home. And the traffickers realized that it was a lot easier to take the supply to the demand. The United States is the number one producer and consumer of child pornography in the world. In the world, right? And we're the ones that are consuming, because when you're consuming child pornography, it doesn't end there. Pretty soon these guys are fantasizing about things they wouldn't have thought was attractive 5 years ago, and then they're acting out on these horrific fantasies. This is creating a tsunami of demand, and so these traffickers are bringing them up. And 2 years ago, the State Department admitted that they had completely lost 85,000 children. And then that number got increased by another almost 300,000 that they didn't have tabs on. And the reason behind it is because they were being brought across. There was 130,000 children a year that were undocumented, unaccompanied minors that were being brought across the border. Now, if you really want to know what real immigration looks like, you look at what's happening in war-torn countries. You've got a mom and a dad and some children that are coming across. You weren't seeing that. You were seeing hundreds of thousands of children that were coming across. The fact that there was hundreds of thousands of children that came across without parents, that's telling you that something really wrong was going on. And so, yes, I absolutely will hang that on Kamala, on the Biden administration, as the border czar, is what she was, because of the fact it was. And here's the thing. The border situation should have never been a political issue. It should have never been. This isn't about a right or left thing. This is about a human trafficking issue. And it was insane how much of that came across the border.
I have a question for all my friends and followers. Have you tried my wine yet? In the last 2 years, we've made tremendous progress with Franzese wine, and it's really all thanks to your support, and obviously because people are finding out we have a great wine at a great price. In 2025, we aim to become a national brand, and I want all of you to be a part of it. Every bottle you buy, every story you share builds more than a brand. It fuels a movement. The story of our wine is one of people having second chances and of lives being transformed. That's the truth. So go to my website, franzesewine.com, and get your bottle today. Salud, my friends.
Well, as a Christian, I can only say this is demonic. I mean, this is really demonic. But what is the process? In other words, there is a group of people out there that will take a child, and then they got to bring them to the border. Does somebody pick them up on the other side of the border?
Well, they have a phone number and an address that aren't having an FBI background check. They didn't have any.
In other words, a phone and an address here that they have
here
to
in the United
to.
States.
They're
yes.
given that.
Yeah, and you'll find reports of good families who say, listen, we want to help these kids that are coming across. And so there's entire communities where they all agreed to take a bunch of these kids, and over 80 to 90% of these kids ran away from those homes within a couple weeks. Why? Because they weren't placed in the place that they were supposed to be placed, quote unquote, by the traffickers.
And do the kids just know to run away, or
They were told, you don't want something bad to happen to your sister, do you?
you got to leave?
Yeah, you've got to get in this situation. This is what you're going to do to protect your family. Now, I'm not saying that happens with all of them, but the system was set up in a way that made it very easy for the traffickers to be able to push these kids into very dangerous places here in the U.S. to fulfill horrific demands.
My friends, if you enjoyed this video, I'm going to give you an opportunity to become my partner in business. Franzese Wine experiencing tremendous growth over the past couple of years, and we're going to experience even further growth in the next few years. You're going to have an opportunity to be my partner because you've been supporting me, you've been my fan base, and I want to share this with you. So go to invest.franzesewine.com, and offer you shouldn't refuse.